And now we move to the most populous country in the Arab world, the great Republic of Egypt, with more than 80 million people, and of course, the oldest and most ancient civilization in the region. And we're going to be talking about desalination wastewater projects in Egypt. And our speaker is Mr. Atta Anura, who is from the Public-Private Partnership Central Unit in the Ministry of Finance of Egypt. His specialism, of course, is privately financed water projects, but he's going to talk about everything. So will you please welcome Mr. Atta Anura? Right, Atta, I don't think there's no real need to explain Egypt. I think everybody understands Egypt. Maybe you could say a few words about your own unit. What is it set up to do, and why should anybody be listening to you?
Thank you, everybody, for having us here. I'm the head of the PPP Central Unit, which is the Public-Private Partnership Central Unit. We're established in 2006, and in 2010 we had our law, our PPP law, managing all this kind of transactions. And actually this was one of the good laws, and we had 2 international awards, one of which is from the United Nations as the best PPP law in the year 2010.
Okay, well, just an explanation to people. The system that's used in Egypt for privatization is that all government privatizations, or practically all of them, come through the PPP unit.
I want to differentiate here between the public-private partnership, or the PFI, or the private finance initiative, as the English love to say it, and the privatization. The privatization is completely different than the PPPs, because in the privatization, you're giving out the assets for good to a project.
Well, that can be done by individual departments. It doesn't have to come through you.
No. The privatization is not through us. But what the unit is concerned about is the public-private partnership, like the BOTs and the BOOs, the BLTs, the PFIs, and all these kind of forms.
And these can be both new projects and existing projects?
Yes. We have the green fields, as we call it, and the brown fields when there is an asset or a utility that needs to be upgraded or managed even.
So it's always going to be a project where there will be a government stake retained?
Yes, yes.
So that's the PPP unit, developed as a result of close collaboration with the World Bank. The law was passed in 2010, and the PPP has been developing PPP, the unit's been developing PPP projects. Just so you know, there's only one other established unit of this kind in the whole region so far, and that's Kuwait. Although Dubai says it's doing something. We're expecting Saudi Arabia to move in this direction.
And I think Oman as well, they're working hardly on doing
coming up with something similar. So, one of the interesting things about Egypt's experience is that you're a bit of a prototype in some respects with other countries. Yes. All right. Tell us what you've done in the water sector.
In the water sector, we started actually, our first successful project was a wastewater treatment plant. It was a greenfield. And we started working with other departments on the surface water and desalination project. I want to say as well that we shifted a little bit from the green fields to the sophisticated brownfields project, and we already finalized and closed one of the big wastewater treatment plant as a brownfield, which is 1.6 million cubic meter per day, which is
was that your first? No,
this is the second wastewater treatment plant.
So that you've done one greenfield PPP.
Yes, and then
wastewater plant on the River Nile, on the Nile. I can't remember where it is.
No, it's in the
delta.
In the desert. Actually, it's in the New Cairo.
I'm going to get it right eventually. It's in the desert. You've done that project. The contract was placed. What's the status of the project now?
It's actually running since the last 2 years.
Right. And your conclusion in terms of operations so far, what are the lessons have you learned from that first project, as far as water projects are concerned?
From the first few projects that we've done under the PPP, we've learned a lot of lessons, one of which is the preparation phase. And the preparation phase is where you do the pre-feasibility studies, the technical point of view, and the financial point of view, and the financing point of view, and the environmental, and the legal. But some of the topics that I've just mentioned are in the first priority in some other project like the desalination. When we're talking about the desalination is almost the same projects here and there. The technology is very well known and it's easy to be implemented and bid. But the selection of the piece of land and the impact on the environment is a crucial point that actually made us change the location of some of the desalination plants like twice or thrice.
Okay, well, let's go back to that first project, which that's a sewage treatment plant.
Yes.
So it's a sewage treatment plant, and you did a PPP deal. How is it monetized? How is it monetized? The government is. So where's the cash flow coming from that?
This is where the government is the major off-taker.
Right. The government buys the perimeter of the sewage treatment plant.
The
pays cash to
the financing is made by the private sector. So the private sector designs, build, equip, operate, maintain, replace equipment whenever on the course of the concession, and transfers the asset after the concession period. And the government is paying to the sewage treatment availability payment after operation. Starting from the operation, we start paying. And the full entire products or the services of the project is off-taken by the government. Right. So the government is their single client.
It's not an availability. It's an availability.
It's a combination. Yes.
Availability and delivery, and the raw sewage is delivered to the perimeter of the same place, or is the sewage collected by?
It's collected by the network, by the government,
okay,
and pumped to the station, and then from the treated water is pumped again to do some kind of irrigation in the public.
So really, it's a factory converting raw sewage into reasonable quality TSE, for which cash is paid, and it's working so far, technically, financially.
Technically and financially working perfect, and actually this encouraged a lot of companies to start coming and knocking doors, and what's the next project coming in, especially in the PPs.
Yeah, you're giving them too hard a profit margin. I'm only joking.
That's the emerging market.
Yeah, no, I know, I understand that. I understand that. So that one's up and running. That's good. So the second one you've done
is that's a sophisticated one because it's number one.
It's the brownfield.
It's a brownfield where we have already a primary treatment station of 800,000 cubic meter per day. Wants to be expanded to 1.6 million cubic meter per day.
Mind-boggling scale, isn't it?
Okay, and then upgraded to secondary treatment.
Right.
So already.
And secondary treatment means definition of that is that the water quality is.
The water quality actually is equal to the River Nile quality, so you can use it in directly irrigation of crops
and that is again it's the existing system. It's on the Nile. This one is on.
Pardon?
The Nile. This one is on the Nile. Isn't
yes,
it?
this is one of the streams to the Nile.
Right.
Leads to the
and
Nile.
Where are you on that project?
Actually, the project is refinanced, restructured the financing.
So the deal was done.
The deal was done
and then
awarded,
they refinanced it.
And it's awarded, and all the CPs and designs are done. So the successful consortium will start working actually on ground next week. I mean, the coming week.
So they're the lucky people who have to go through the whole kit.
Actually,
how old is the existing plant? How old is the existing?
The existing plant actually is not. Part of it is old, like 15 years old,
right? And
part because it was built over, and this is one of the sophistications as well, to have such because.
So, but you're not doing. There isn't a collection network on this, so it's the same principle, which is the sewage is delivered.
Yes.
To the gate by the municipality, and then taken by who buys it?
Taken by the municipality as well to be distributed.
And they buy it as well. And the government pays for that.
And this one is dropped directly to the Nile after testing the water quality. Because it reaches up, I mean, it increases the water level at some of the streams used for irrigation in the area.
All right. So you're going to. So what is going to be? Are there going to be more?
Yes.
How many are you planning?
Look, we've got 3, actually now they're up to 5 desalination projects.
So now you need more sewage treatment plants?
Yes, sewage treatment plants. We're working on some feasibility studies that will be tendered in the Q3 of this year in Alexandria, 2 wastewater treatment plants.
And
like
they greenfield or brownfield?
Most of them will be greenfield, but maybe 2 or 3 brownfield.
And around the same scale, 1 million cubic meters?
No, they'll not be the same scale.
They'll be smaller?
Yes, something like 500,000 cubic meter per day.
But still pretty substantial.
Yes.
Look, just before we talk about desalination, is there an issue in terms, you've got a PPP transaction, which is very complicated, and there's lots of risks, and bankers and financiers are very nervous about it all. Is there a problem that this holds back the capacity for Egypt to experiment or attempt cutting-edge technology, because the bankers will all say, I don't want that. Give me the nice, simple, straightforward, 10-year-old tried and tested technology.
No,
I don't want that fancy stuff or anything that's going to be complicated.
The nature of the PPPs, when you tender out a PPP, you normally don't give the input specs. You just describe the quality and the output specs and put some codes as a reference codes. So we don't that much dictate the technologies. However, we always ask about the latest technologies, and normally given that the wastewater treatment plants, the water treatment plant, and the desalination are very energy hungry.
Yep.
So one of the main factors in evaluation, and the technical evaluation, is how much these technologies are saving power.
Okay.
Okay, so definitely you're driving the people to the newest technology.
And what pricing are you attaching to the energy? Are you using international prices or domestic
in
prices?
In the energy, it's a pass-through. Pass-through.
So it's domestic prices you're working through?
Yes, the domestic. And because the energy prices in Egypt is varying and escalating over the years now, and I don't want to put this kind of risk on the private sector side, because he cannot price on his bid today the future prices of the power for the next 15 years.
So it's a pass-through.
So it's a pass-through. So he pays it, and he add it extremely on the bill, and we pay it back to him.
Why haven't you attempted to build in the network as well? Why not the network connections and everything else?
Yes,
because some of the inefficiencies or failings in the system could be in the network and the distribution.
Yes, right. The networks actually is one of the problems that we have. However, in the last few years, there was a very big leap in replacing the networks and starting to work on the networks as well. But the networks, normally, in the PPPs, is a high risk.
Yeah.
So normally, we go for the networks on EPC basis, not on a PPP basis.
When you say we, that's not you.
The government, yeah. So, because the PPPs incurs that the private sector finance, design, build, and operate, and maintain for a long period of time, 15, 20 years, depending on the payback period. So a network spread over the streets everywhere, and there is more than one player in this area. So the guys of the power cables, they are digging, they might have effect on the car. All this kind of complications makes the high risk on the private sector that is maintaining and working and securing this kind of network. So normally the networks are on the
So you don't
EPC.
think you'll ever, not in the foreseeable future, have networks distribution and all that stuff?
The network distribution will be introduced to the PPPs in the new urban developments.
Right, in the new areas, but not in the existing network. Yes. So you can develop from the beginning. I know that the high, of course, the distribution network's the biggest challenge, collection network's biggest challenge, and we heard from Ashman, which initially had
it's a challenge everywhere.
A tremendous challenge. So you're putting the machinery. Okay, so you're comfortable and you think this model is working.
Yes. Now we're working with the wastewater treatment. One of the challenges that we have in Egypt are the small villages. It's not a secret to say that we have almost 93 to 95% coverage of potable water, and we have something like 45 to 50% coverages
on a national basis for the whole country.
Yes. on the national basis. The big cities like Cairo, Alexandria, Aswan, all these kind of big cities are almost 80 to 90% covered in sewage treatment plants, sewage treatment services, but other villages, especially in the highly populated areas like the Delta in Egypt and some governorates down the Nile, the coverage is very, very low. The problem here when you introduce the private sector to help in this, the villages and the population of the villages are very small. It will never attract the private sector. It will never attract the banks to finance. So what we're doing now, and we have already 1,077 villages tendered now in one lot. They're working on something like a hub. So there's a collection and pumping to a main station, and then this station serves something like 50, 60, or 100 villages. So there will be something like hubs, and all these hub stations will be connected to a bigger station.
So where's the government at on this process? What stage is the government? You're talking about 1,077 villages.
Yes, this project is financed through a loan from the World Bank.
Right.
And they're working on the final stage of tendering.
Right.
And selecting it. So
how many people are going to be covered by this? You said 1,077 villages. How many people is that going to be?
Few million.
Yeah.
I mean,
so like an amazing challenge, not far short of the population. Well, about the same population Abu Dhabi, all in one go. But over 1,077 different villages financed by the World Bank, and so that will be put out to tender this year or parts.
Actually, yes, they're working on it. They'll finish within the next few months.
Okay, and are you sharing your expertise, or are they sharing your expertise with you?
This would be done through an EPC.
Right.
We just want to check the system, check how this project is well managed, well implemented, so I can pass or I can replicate this model over the private sector through different. We have something like 4,700 villages need to be covered.
Right.
Okay.
So it's possible that your unit will be given the challenge of taking some of the 4,000 plus villages and trying to turn that into a financeable private finance initiative or partnership.
Right.
So we'll look forward to that one. Right. Let's go back to desalination then. You haven't done one yet. Have you done one yet?
Well, actually, we will be tendering out within the next few weeks 3 desalination projects.
This is your first 3 desal plants.
Actually, Egypt in the desalination is new. I mean, we didn't depend on the desalination for potable water that much before. We just started that when a few decades, 2 or 3 decades before, when we started working in in something like Sharm el-Sheikh or Gaida, that down south, where the Nile does not reach there.
Right.
Now, as the population expanding and as we're doing new urban developments in the desert area, that's difficult to have the River Nile water reach there. Plus that we are suffering some kind of shortage in the water in the coming few years due to the population and the expansions that we have. So we have to depend on other sources of water, one of which, or one of the mainstream, is the desalination.
Right, so what are the projects you're working on?
We have 3 projects already started in the north coast in Alamein, that's 100,000 cubic meter per day, and another 2, one in Sinai, South Sinai, in El Tor, it's 20,000 cubic meter per day, and the third one in Safaga, just south or Gaida, 40 kilometers or something, that's 40,000 cubic meter per day.
So that's 2 on the Mediterranean coast.
2 on the Red Sea, 1 on the coast.
1 there, 2 in the Red Sea, sorry,
yes. Now we have, a few weeks ago, we just received another project to be studied, and this is the real challenge, because it's on the Red Sea, in the Suez Gulf, and it's 500,000 cubic meter per day. 500,000 cubic meter per day in the desalination is a huge project. And there's a lot of environmental challenges that might stop the project at a size. the brine thrown back to the water, to the sea, there's a lot of criteria of the sea currents and the sea marine life that should be fulfilled before you go back to say that this is a good location for this project or not. Some locations are good for 100,000 cubic meter per day, maybe 150 or 200. But when you exceed the number of size of the project, then it's impact directly on the environment, because maybe the currents that disperse this brine is not that high.
Is this 500,000 cubic meters a day? Is this to serve a new population,
yes,
or is it to replace? Yes. Oh, it's an anticipation. It's a building anticipation.
No, it's the part of it will be serving an industrial zone, but the majority is for to serve the new population or the new urban development in El Sokhna and Zafarana place, and it will provide water. This is one of the main stations that will provide potable water to the Suez Canal corridor at the south end.
Which is the project which is just...
So this project, the 500,000, will be on 3 phases, 150, then 150, and then 200. But what we're working on now with one of the international firms is checking the marine criteria for this location.
Well, tell us about the 3 desalination projects which you're at advanced stage at, about how the specification in terms of technology, what sort of partnerships you're looking to develop, operational issues.
Actually, it seems that the desalination projects looks very sexy for companies.
Why?
Once we announced that we are working on desalination project, we have been contacted by over 18 to 20 international companies.
Right.
From the Gulf,
right.
Some companies from the Gulf, which they have very good experience and very good technology that they're working on, from Saudi Arabia and from the GCC, and from Korea, Singapore, Malaysia and China,
yep.
and Spain,
yep.
France,
yep.
all these big companies.
And the technology you're using, what is the specification of the technology?
We are specifying actually the quality of the water. We don't go that much in the technology. We just remove
So it can be conventional thermal and MSF technology or MED technology. You're not specifying
We're not specifying. We're not specifying. Because actually, this kind of project, the concession period will be something like 20, 25 years, and the entire plant lifetime is almost 25 years.
Okay.
So the investor or the operator, let me say, who is the most important member of the consortium, will benefit out of the technology that he is using. Okay? As I mentioned before, one of the main criteria of the technical selection is factor of the power consumption.
Right.
Okay? The main criteria is the quality of water that we are measuring, because this is the product that we're taking about at the end of the day. The third important is the environmental impact. So the technology, actually, the describing the outputs and giving the environment that we need dictates what kind of technology they have.
Okay.
Sometimes they do the double membrane.
So how is it? Who's going to pay for it? Who's paying for the water?
The government is off-taking.
Government's the off-take, and then it will be supplying it to the local cities.
Yes, because actually it will be supplied to different...
At a subsidized rate or whatever.
That's one of the things that I want to say. It's not all of it will be subsidized, because you're sending water to some resorts.
Some commercial areas.
Okay, and commercial areas. And you're sending water to industries. And you're sending water to households. So different pricing. So that's why the government...
to see a new pricing structure coming in Egypt
the government
new water? Will it be a new pricing structure for new water, or do you think the national system?
No, the prices and for the water would be for different categories and different levels of consumption.
So there'll be a new national tariff for everybody in Egypt.
There is a national tariff now, and we're working on this.
So
the
the
government
tariff
is
will be
taking all the
adjusted.
water and just send it out. If it's for industry, they are paying this amount. If for a touristic resort, they are paying this amount. And for the households, they are paying, and it depends on the consumption as well. There's another category for consumption.
How well do you think Egypt, I mean, do you think Egypt's now on top of its water challenge, or has it got a lot more to do?
Yes, we're in the water challenge. We're not.
But are you on top of it, or have you got a lot more to do?
I think we've got a lot to do.
Right.
We've got a lot to do.
And that's to overpopulation. You have to manage the River Nile.
Yes.
You've got your Mediterranean coast. You've got networks which are dilapidated, systems which are archaic.
And we have to change the habits of using or
and
utilizing
wasteful
water.
use
Yes.
related to low tariffs. So there's a huge program in the whole supply chain.
And I think that the PPP methodology will be heavily used in most of the wastewater and desalination and surface water projects in the coming few years.
Okay, good. Right, anybody got any questions about the Egyptian water system? More than 80 million people, and probably the largest water project market in the next 20 years in the region, with the exception of Iran, I suppose. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Al-Azmi.
I just was wondering, maybe it was not clear to me, your plant, when you double capacity from 800,000 meter cubes to its double, where the network, I mean, was this available already, or you had to build a new network?
You're talking about the network?
Yeah,
Yes.
because you talk about plant capacity increase double, but I'm not sure where the connections came from, where the...
Actually, the answer for this comes from why the project is 1.6 million cubic meter per day, not 2,000. Because it was planned to be the 2,000 before. But we stopped it. I told them that I will be working currently at the 1.6 million cubic meter because the capacity of the network coming into the plant, the current plant, which is 800, the maximum capacity of this is 1.6. So the network already that's collecting from different places, plus this area is Abu Rawash, called Abu Rawash. It's very, very close to the 6th of October new urban development. So as this area population is increasing, so we want to increase this plant. So that's why we're doubling it and upgrading the quality of the water just to reuse it for irrigation. The network is there, and the network is working fine. They made in the last few years some upgrading to the quality of the network to support all this kind of pressure and pumping to the new plant. And now we're working on the plant to upgrade it. The network of the water, of the treated water, is not that sophisticated because it directly goes to one of the main streams that's leading to the River Nile. So you're not doing a lot of network coming out and distributing as the one that we'd made before in the desert in the New Cairo. New Cairo, you're distributing, connecting to the network, that taking the treated water and distributing it for and used for irrigation of public gardens and public green areas. And here in this Abu Rawash water plant, wastewater treatment plant, we are pushing the treated water directly to one of the streams leading to the River Nile. So it will be used directly in irrigation.
No, fine. Why I'm asking a question, because if you I don't know what system you have. Was it gravity or is it face main? It was a gravity driven, this sewage network, or is it force pumped?
No, it's force pumped.
Yeah, because there's a 10-down ratio. If you have very minimum flow, you might agitate the flow, then you might end up with the odor and smell. So just to double the capacity from 800 to 1.6 is a huge...
Actually, yes.
I wonder how you manage that 10-down ratio of the...
The plant, we have another plant in Egypt, in a place called El Gabel Asfar, which is very close to Nasr City. It's almost in the eastern Cairo. And this plant now is 2.2 million cubic meter per day. But this 2.2 million cubic meter per day plant was planned 15 years ago or 10 years ago to reach 2 million. So all the network and all the infrastructure and the location and even the development around it was planned that this area, even the direction of the winds and orders to all these things, was planned that, that this area will reach 2 million cubic meter per day. The same goes with this location, which is Abu Rawash, which is in the west side of Cairo. The area is good for 2 million cubic meter per day, but we are stopping at 1.6 and building another 400 cubic meter per day in another location inside the urban development. And this new wastewater treatment plant is 400,000 cubic meter per day. The output of it will be used in irrigation of some of the what they call it, public wood development, wood generating trees and stuff like this.
Okay.
So what's the charges per meter cubes of wastewater? How do you charge it and what is it?
How we charge it?
Yeah.
Or how do
the government pays?
How much you charge and how do you collect that money?
Oh, yeah,
charge from the beneficiaries, from the people.
Yeah, sure.
In the wastewater treatment plant, this is something that out of my knowledge, but I'll tell you what I know about it. In the bills, the water bills that we give to the beneficiaries, the only meters that we have are the water meter, the potable water meter. We don't put any meters for this wastewater or for the sewage. But 1/3 of the bill is directed to the wastewater treatment plant or the wastewater services. So the tariff, 1/3 of the tariff of the water, of the potable water, is directed to the wastewater services. So this is how the pricing is, and this percentage, 1/3 to 2/3, is applicable in everything except for the industrial wastewater service. Because the industrial, as you are professional in this more than I do, the industrial have their own industrial wastewater management, and they need to have a different pricing system.
Sure.
But basically, the people are not covering the costs of the services, are they? For the sanitation services, beneficiaries are not.
The beneficiaries are paying actually part of their.
I know, but they're not covering the full cost of the sanitation services.
Definitely, they are not covering.
Right. Okay. Well, look, let me ask a question about the general economic conditions in Egypt now. How would you summarise at the start of 2016? Because investors will be asking you this question. They say, what's the economic prospects in Egypt? Are you doing better than a year ago? Is growth continuing? Are your debts under control? Is the exchange rate predictable? And all that stuff.
Look, definitely, after the revolution, let me say the revolutions that we have in the last few years, we suffered after the 2011, we suffered the political instability and economical instability. And however, Egypt is an institutional country, so it succeeded to cover or to bridge over this turbulence and to the government.
So how are you now compared to a year ago? Economically, would you say? Made progress, better?
There is some progress because we can see some more investment coming in. However, we have some challenges. The foreign exchange risk is there. However, it's a little bit more controlled.
People are expecting the exchange rate, the Egyptian pound, to be depreciated further, don't they?
There is always a possibility there's always a possibility once you're working on a long term, you have to put the possibility of doing this. However, the hedging or the possibility of the devaluation is much more less than the expectations a year or a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, there was a panic.
Right.
And we say that it might be goes to £10 or more than that. Now it's much more in control, better than before. The other thing is that the political stability is much more better than before. Now we have a parliament, all these kind of things gives enhance the picture, the political picture, but we have some challenges in terms not only the foreign exchange risk, because you can always hedge it, you can always factor it in your cost. The problem that some of the investors are very worried about is the shortage of the hard currency.
Right.
So they have to queue to get their hard currency from the central bank and accordingly open their LCs, especially when for the machinery.
It's been rationed. It's been rationed. The foreign exchange has been rationed.
In a way, but it's
if you have to queue, that means it's been rationed.
You have to queue because the only source of hard currency is through the Central Bank of Egypt. Yeah. It's not open as before because they are trying to control the black market. Yeah. However, it's much more better than before now.
Yep.
There's a lot of foreign currency coming from different sources, and the Ministry of International Cooperation, they're doing a good job now. So it's much more easy. Instead of waiting for 2 or 3 months, now it's much more shortened. So it's a few weeks, something like 5 to 6 weeks. But this is one of the challenges. And the investors, especially the long-term investors, are worried about what if we're staying for 20 years with you? And how can we get our dividends back? Yeah. How can we pay to the finances or the banks, especially if they are working in borrowing in hard currency?
Absolutely. And finally, the oil price crash.
This is another factor.
Is that good or bad for Egypt?
This is a question that I cannot say it's good or bad, because it's good and bad. In good in some terms and bad in a lot of terms. Definitely in the investment, especially we're very much working with the GCC countries and want them to invest as governments and as companies.
Right.
Definitely the oil prices dropping down is affecting everyone.
So Gulf investors have less money, so that's negative.
Yes. Egypt is exporting some of the oil products, and this is one of the sources of...
That's 2 negatives.
The positive thing is that the budget of the Egyptian government is heavily subsidizing the petroleum products.
Yep.
Okay, and this is now we're narrowing this subsidy.
So that's a positive.
Okay.
And then energy costs going down for your manufacturing, everybody else, that's going to be good, isn't it?
Yes, but the problem is that to get this petroleum products that you need for industry, you have to pay for it in hard currency, and the hard currency is affected this way. So
okay, well, there's a PhD in it.
Yes.
But it's not quite clear. And there's no doubt for the principal oil exporting countries of the GCC, the lower oil price is unambiguously bad this year. But for Egypt, it's not so clear, maybe a mixture. All right, unless anybody's got any further questions, I will invite you all to show your appreciation to Mr. Atahanura.
Thank you.